occupying till he comes at Southwest Prophecy Ministries. This is David Schnitker with today's Southwest Prophecy Ministries podcast. It's a great privilege to have Doc Marquis back on the podcast today to discuss his latest DVD entitled There Were Giants in the Earth. These two DVDs are approximately 3 hours long and are absolutely fascinating. No one is better qualified to speak about this subject than Doc Marquis, as he was raised in the international occult group known as the Illuminati. During his youth, Doc was trained as an Illuminist and attained the rank of Master Witch. That is a third-level Illuminati witch. As a young serviceman, Doc had several Christians who presented to him the gospel of Jesus Christ. And by God's grace, Doc responded to the message of salvation by grace through faith alone. On April 15, 1979, Doc became a born-again Christian, forever severing his ties with the Illuminati. After graduating from Bible college, Doc has devoted his life to using every possible means to expose and educate the public on the secrets of the Illuminati. He's an accomplished author and filmmaker, having produced well over a dozen documentary films on biblical, prophetic, and occult topics. He's spoken on radio and television programs and at prophecy conferences all over the United States and indeed probably many other countries. So it's a privilege to have him share with us about his latest film, which is true to fashion, unique in its contents. Now, I've seen several of Doc's films through the years and have had the privilege of interviewing him, and every one of these films is absolutely unique. Nobody else provides the kind of content that Doc does in his films, and this is no exception. So it is a special joy to have Doc back on the podcast today. As I mentioned last week, Doc was instrumental in so many ways in launching Southwest Prophecy Ministries just a year ago. In fact, I believe that God gave Doc the first word about his desires for this ministry to come into existence. So I'm very, very grateful. Well, Doc, welcome back to our program today.
Thank you, David. How's everything been going for you?
Been going very well. Thank you so much.
Good.
Doc is joining us by phone from Nebraska today. And for those who listened to last week's podcast, we began to discuss the content in this fascinating film series on giants. And we tend to think of giants as fictional characters, something out of, comic books or mythology, but they are very, very real. And you cannot view these films without coming away with a conviction that they are real and that Satan is very much behind what they were doing in the past and what's going on today. And we're going to be getting into some of these fascinating subjects on today's podcast. Well, let's just jump back in. For some, it might be a review. We've touched on this last week. But we talked about stone circles, or megaliths, as they are, I guess, more technically known as. Doc, where are these stone circles found? Who built them, and what kind of activities took place there?
Well, interesting enough, when we look at these megalithic stone circles throughout the world, the one thing archaeologists state is that they have no idea who built them. Now, I do know. Most of them know who built them, but they don't want to own up to it. We know by the evidence left in those areas, the cultural stories, the ancient records and such, they were all built by giants. Now, you will find the greatest concentration of stone circles in the Salisbury Plains in England. Such, stone circles such as Avebury, Stonehenge, the most famous of them, Rollright stone circles, so on and so forth. Now, what's interesting is throughout the British Isles, you will find by archaeological records approximately 1,000 stone circles throughout that part of the world. And it's also that one part, just that one part of the entire earth, where 95% of all crop formations are being made. And this is another connection that we actually have to go through, because without the stone circles, you want to find these crop formations. And there are quite a lot, as you saw in the DVD, David, quite a lot of crop formations that are not being reported in the newspapers, and those particular crop formations are made up of occult symbols that are used to this very day.
Absolutely. Well, crop circles are relatively, quote, recent compared to the age of these stone circles. They started appearing in the 1970s, as I recall,
Right.
and have made their way into some popular films. There was a Mel Gibson film some years back, I think it was called Circles, and it tried to make some kind of sense out of them. And I find this whole subject of crop circles to be just absolutely fascinating. So let's expand on them. And I think you've already begun to touch on them. Where have these crop circles most commonly appeared, and what are some of the symbols in these crop circles?
Well, as I said before, you'll find 95% of them located on the Salisbury Plains in England. The purpose of these crop formations, supposedly, aliens are trying to get a hold of us. There's even been 3 crop formations because of one recently made, I think it was just a couple of months ago, in which images of the classic gray aliens have been found. And for some reason, we've been led to believe that it's aliens from other planets that are doing these things. Well, you know what? I'm not buying it. First of all, we can't even prove if life exists in outer space. Second of all, why would aliens want to mow down our fields just to say, hi, we're visiting you? I mean, that's a pretty weak explanation. If this is supposed to be a super advanced intelligence from advanced civilizations far out in outer space, I would tend to believe that they could find a better way of communication.
Yeah, I remember back in the 70s, there was an author named Eric von Däniken who popularized this idea that ancient aliens created the pyramids and other fantastic items, and that in these days we're being revisited by these ancient aliens. And it was quite a fad, at least back in the 70s.
Well, you're right. And Eric von Däniken is often seen on that TV series, Ancient Aliens. And what amazes me is that just because we can't immediately explain who or what built, let's say, the pyramids or these ancient megalithic structures, suddenly we say it's aliens? I mean, if you watch that series, Ancient Aliens, man is too stupid to even blow his own nose. We can't do anything without aliens. And interesting enough, now the Bible records who built the pyramids, and that was the Israeli slaves that was kept enslaved in an occult,
right,
polytheistic society for 430 years.
Yes.
The answer's right there. And yet, people like von Däniken and others want to say it's aliens. Well, guess what? As I said before, they've got no proof, no hardcore evidence for aliens. Yet, I can prove to you through the archaeological records that giants not only existed, but according to the ancient writings, they were responsible for these megalithic structures. If you go to those areas where these megalithic structures exist, you will find cultural and historical records of giants. Since we were talking about Stonehenge, that's England. Well, there are cultural stories there that speak of a tribe of giants that was roaming throughout the English lands, just doing whatever they want to. And we also find records of one particular giant that was named. His name was Gog Magog. I remember that one from my childhood. And we also have ancient hand drawings which shows giants were helping construct Stonehenge. We have the actual and drawings that shows this. If you go throughout, as I said, around Sweden and other areas there, where you have the Norse mythologies based upon giants.
Well, it does answer the questions that I'm sure you've heard through the years, that, you know, the mystery of how these monstrous stones were put into place, not only put into place, but crafted, you know, obviously handcrafted, into the shapes that they were when, at least in Stonehenge's case, these kinds of stones did not occur naturally nearby. Certainly the idea of giants, 35 to 40 feet giants with massive, massive strength, is a reasonable explanation in terms of how these massive megaliths came into being.
Well, yes, they would have more than enough strength to lift up any of those megalithic stones. I mean, these were creatures of phenomenal size and strength, and even the Bible records, you know, their strength. We find out, interesting enough, there's a passage in the scripture that compares the giants to the size of a cedar tree. And your average cedar tree stands 40 feet in height.
Wow. It's an amazing thing to think of. And of course, as we mentioned last week, you actually have photographs of skeletons that are 35, 40 feet in height. And the density of their bones, I mean, these were massive, massive creatures. Well, let's talk about the symbols. I found that fascinating. The pictures that you show in your film of these crop circles. What are some of the symbols that these crop circles have?
Well, interesting enough, when we get to the crop formations, as I stated last week, I find it rather interesting that, you know, just like in George Orwell's book, Animal Farm, where I believe it was the pigs that finally took over the farmer's property.
Yes, that's correct.
I will never forget the quote that they made. They said, all animals are created equal, but some animals are more equal than others.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with the crop formations. All crop formations are made equal, but some are more equal than others. And this is very applicable because when we take a look at the crop formations that have been made since the early 70s, a lot of them, you know, people are still trying to figure out right now, but a great deal of them also have never hit the newspaper ever because there's a series, if you want to call it a series, of crop formations that are definitely occultic. And these particular crop formations are generally found next to one of the ancient stone circles in England. One of them would be like the five-pointed star, which is known as a pentagram. Then there was, of course, a crop formation where it's a six-pointed star. And I will tell you right now, the six-pointed star, which is known as a hexagram, it's the foulest and most evil of occult symbols in existence. There's nothing that could even come close to touching it. You need that particular circle, that formation, if you're going to summon a demon to this plane of existence. There's also crop formations where it has the god and the goddess symbols that represent the two major deities in the occult world, the god and the goddess. They go by various names depending on the culture or the style of the occult you're practicing, so on and so forth. We have crop formations that are made in the shape of serpents, and you and I both know that it's the serpent and the dragon that's always used to denote Satan in the Bible. We have the phoenix bird crop formations. We also have a very complex one known as the Kabbalistic tree of life. And of course, what would any of these occult symbols be without the Illuminati eye in the pyramid? Remember those?
Oh, yes. And in fact, I think one of the photographs you showed of a crop circle actually looked to me like the face of Satan. Had a demonic actual facial characteristics.
Right. There is one crop formation that was made in the shape of a demon. And whether or not it's Satan, I don't know. But it's definitely demonic. I've had people take a look at this and jump out of their skin.
Oh, it is scary. It is scary.
Yeah.
And so I guess it would be your position that these crop circles, certainly not being created by these mysterious aliens, but they're actually created by demonic manifestations. Would that be your position?
Yes, because remember, it's at these crop formations. First of all, it's at these stone circles, which were made by the ancient giants, which were sired by demons to begin with. At these stone circles is where tens of millions of gallons of blood were spilled throughout England because the Druids were practicing the rites of human sacrifice. And it's at these same stone circles where you're finding these occult crop formations, and it's these symbols, a number of which are used during the ceremonies at those ancient stone circles that were used to summon the demons to begin with.
Absolutely amazing. Well, Doc, to me, the most amazing footage you have in the whole film has to do with demonic manifestations in our day. So we're going to cut right to that. Tell us about the security footage that you obtained and have included in this film that has to do with demonic manifestations in our day.
Okay, well, there are certain things that govern, if you would, or that's used to determine if something was a genuine demonic manifestation or not. I have examined hundreds, if not thousands, of different footage about demonic manifestations. Like this one was supposed to be real, this one was, but they don't fit in with what you can expect to see of genuine demonic manifestations. And in this particular DVD, there were giants in the earth. As you witnessed, David, and I gave you a copy from the actual footage itself now.
Yes, you sent that to me.
As you witnessed, there are two genuine demonic manifestations on that DVD. Those two DVDs carry a lot of information, but that last section is where we tie it all together to prove that at these stone circles, you can find demonic activities, like in the form of those floating globes, or demonic manifestations. And we saw two of them on the film.
And by the way, without giving too much detail, didn't this security footage take place somewhere in the United States?
Yes, and in particular in the area where I've been doing my field work. And as I stated last week, Lord willing, if we have the money, by the first week of October, we've got to get back out there, because the pastor who's been helping me in that area has been telling me that the activities have been going through the roof. I just got off the phone with him yesterday and just a couple of days before, and they went out again, and something's going on. They don't know what it is. They can't identify it, but this is definitely occultic, going by what they had just described to me and what I had seen in the past. So we've got to get back out there to help these people as soon as possible, and Lord willing, to record what's actually going out there so we can let people know, hey, guess what? The Bible is right. These things are going on. The prophecies state that these things can be expected to grow in their intensity, and that's what we're seeing. And we've got to do this for the sake of getting people aware of the truth so that, Lord willing, they'll get saved.
Well, as an aside, Doc, I want to say right now over the air that I want to work it out to where you can give us some phone updates, maybe even as you're on site in this, and let us know what is going on so we can be mobilizing prayer and getting word out to people as to what it is that you all are finding as you go out there this October.
If we can, and well, as I says, if we've got the finances, because I'm not going to lie, David, this is going to cost between $9,000 to $1,000 to get out there. And while I remember, there's one particular area. This is just something recent from as I recall, but there's one particular area out there. Now you know how sometimes you'll have grass instead of just the earth, and sometimes you'll just have dirt that's not covered with grass, and then sometimes you'll find patches of the earth that's just covered in those little pebbles, white pebbles or multicolored ones.
Right, especially out in desert areas like what we're describing here.
Right. Well, I have been sent footage. Film footage and photos of a trail of footprints that lead off to this huge ravine. Now, what's remarkable about this is that the footprints have an indentation of what looks like about 3 inches, which means whatever it is of tremendous weight. Second, the actual footprints are over 28 inches long.
Wow. That is huge.
If we extrapolate the math, that means whatever left those footprints somewhere is in the 15 to 20 foot range.
And we're talking about a human shape footprint here.
This is human. It's here in America. It left this path. And when we found out, about that huge, deep ravine, we asked the person who took photos of it, if he followed the ravine. He says, no, there's no way I'm going down there or following those footprints. He says, I was too scared. And that's in the same area where, again, I've been doing my field work, so we've got to get out there and find out what's going on, because some of the stories I've been told, that's been coming to me, these people are being terrorized by these creatures that they can't identify. There's areas there where corn is growing in. Since I live in Nebraska, I can honestly tell you that the average height of a fully matured corn stalk is somewhere around 8 feet tall. Now, whatever these people are spotting or seeing, the creature's chest and above
is
standing taller than the top of the corn stalks.
So there have been sightings of creatures that are well above the size of full-grown corn stalks.
Again, if it's from the chest up, you're looking at something that's at least 12 feet in height.
Yes.
And whether it's demonic or not, if anyone's guess at this point, because what is interesting about these events is that we are seeing footprints, trails of footprints in the ground now, on dirt, in the desert ground, that all of a sudden stop. Now, there's no way that's possible unless suddenly we see rock, and there's no rocks, as you well know, in that area, but unless, as we already saw in the DVD, a portal opening up to where the demon can go through. You remember the portal that you saw in the DVD, There Were Giants in the Earth?
Yes.
Right. Now, what if, whatever it is terrorizing the people, turning around, running off, leaving those footprints, and then vanishing through a portal?
It's very, very possible, considering the...
Well, that could explain the sudden, abrupt ending of the footprints when there's no way that's possible. The portal, an interdimensional portal, as we saw on that film, could easily account for the footprints suddenly ending in mid-stride.
Now, let me ask this, Doc. Do these footprints occur in the general vicinity as these demonic manifestations that have been included in your film?
Yes, it seems that's exactly the same areas. There's 3 to 5 areas in particular I've got to get out there and examine, Lord willing, where I've been told of these things, and they're definitely falling within demonic activity. There's no doubt of it.
Now, we're not going to give away the content in detail of the security footage. It's about a minute and a half in length, and there are two distinct demonic manifestations captured on two security films of the same location. It's an evening setting, and I know when Doc sent me this footage, original footage almost a year ago, it was just shocking. So I'm not going to spoil that for our listeners. You really need to get these DVDs and watch this security footage. I've never seen anything like it. Now, one final question, Doc. It's a big question, but what, in your opinion, do these demonic manifestations tell us about the day in which we live, and where is this heading?
Well, we were told in a number of places out the scriptures that there are going to be certain things that are going to happen that's going to herald the arrival of Jesus Christ during this next rapture. And demonic activity, occult activity, is imminent. It's got to happen, especially since the prophecies state they will. So if it's a prophecy of God, these things, you might as well etch them in stone, then it's going to happen. And that's what we see going on right now. But the problem is most people don't know how to handle the occult, let alone understand it. I mean, right now, I dare say, I'd be willing to say that 95% of all born-again Christians wouldn't know how to banish a demon. And taking care of a demon is part of our natural authority and power that was given to us through Jesus Christ. But how many Christians would you honestly say could do it?
Very, very few. Very few.
You know? And it's a very easy process. It's like deliverance. Deliverances shouldn't take up to 5 days, 6 hours, Lord knows how many weeks or months. No. This is an in-out process. And if you study the scriptures, you'll find out the process was only a couple of minutes at the most, unless it was one of those really powerful demons. I'm thinking something like along the lines of a fallen cherubim or seraphim, in which they're so powerful, you have to go into fasting and prayer before you tackle them.
Yes.
But again, these should be easy processes for any Christians to deal with. But the problem is, again, how many really know how to do it?
Very few. But you're saying that you expect these demonic manifestations to increase in these final days of the church age prior to our being raptured to be with Christ.
Well, of course. And not only that, but I can tell you by practical experience, that's exactly what's happening. It seems every week I'm getting calls from someone or someone's that's being plagued by demons, and they don't know how to handle it.
Well, it's an amazing time in which we live. And again, the security footage that you have in this film is just absolutely incontrovertible. There are demonic manifestations going on in some of these areas where these stone circles are occurring, and I'm sure that just as that has occurred in this the security film, it's happening all over the world, probably particularly.
Well, if you remember, David, I had the footage purposely sent out twice, not once, but twice, and had them authenticated to verify that this film hasn't been altered in any form or shape. I got the certificates of authentication that says it is what it is.
Right. I'm certainly no expert in that, but these films do not look like they have been doctored. These are just straight, static security films that, and this is raw footage that, at least to me, looks like is absolutely untouched. And two distinct demonic manifestations are captured on film on these security films. Well, this has been fascinating. We have, friends, just begun to talk about these matters. That's all the time we have for today. Doc, thank you for joining us on these special podcasts. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, it's always my pleasure, David.
And we will certainly be back in touch with you as progress is made concerning this expedition. As I've said to you off the air, I just wish I could just tag along and be your baggage handler or something, but certainly we will be praying as you and other Christian people are part of this expedition for God's protection, and that some amazing discoveries will be made that will be a blessing to the body of Christ. Well, friends, I'm sure that...
willing, yes.
Absolutely. We'll be praying, Doc, and we'll certainly be in touch.
Thank you.
Well, friends, I'm sure that you will want to obtain a copy of this 2-DVD set entitled There Were Giants on the Earth. I'm thinking a good sequel might be There Are Giants on the Earth, depending on what Doc finds. But this is the first DVD that deals with these issues. And in this riveting DVD, former Illuminati witch Doc Marquis falls back on over 50 years of occult knowledge and takes us back to the ancient days when giants indeed walked upon the earth, even in North America. Step by step, Doc reveals that ancient giants were responsible for the creation of ancient, massive, megalithic stone circles that we see all around the world, particularly in the United Kingdom, and then shows us the direct connection between them and modern-day crop circles. Then Doc goes where no researcher has ever gone before, and that is to connect the dots, to reveal demonic manifestations occurring at these sites in our present day. This is startling and powerful information you will not find anywhere else. You may obtain a copy of this 2-DVD set, nearly 3 hours in length, for a gift offering of $19.95 plus $5 shipping and handling. You may obtain this DVD set in 3 different ways. You may order it on our website, www.swpm.us. That's www.swpm.us. Or you may order it through the mail by sending us a check or money order to P.O. Box 58043, Oklahoma City 73157. That address again is Southwest Prophecy Ministries, P.O. Box 58043, Oklahoma City 73157. Or you may call us at 405-604-5975. That's 405-604-5975. Our shipping policy, friends, is out the door in 24. In other words, we will rush you this DVD as soon as we hear from you. This is David Schnitker. Thanks for listening.